The actually tested region is cylindrical with a diameter of 6 millimeters. The material tester goes to the workshop to get 10 specimens manufactured from the rods, not just one. All of the specimens are as identical as possible. Back in the lab, he has all specimens ready for use and picks out the first one. He mounts the specimen carefully and securely into the fatigue testing machine. Together with 2 half shells, he inserts one end of the specimen into the right specimen grip. With a union nut, he locks transverse direction. Via the spring, the test force acts on the specimen. By varying the excitation frequency of the imbalance, the test force can be controlled. In our case, the specimen is loaded with about 25 cycles per second. Meanwhile, the first specimen has already endured over 300,000 load cycles and still seems to be intact. In reality, however, several cracks have already developed starting from the surface, the so-called fatigue cracks. With each load cycle, they grow a bit further into the specimen. The biggest crack gains the upper hand, grows the fastest, and finally leads to fracture after 381,000 load cycles. The first test is finished. The material tester removes the fragments cautiously and inspects the fracture surfaces. At first glance, the fracture surface looks unimpressive. A closer look reveals 2 regions: the rather dull, predominantly flat fatigue crack propagation area and the rough residual fracture area. The residual fracture area results from the final catastrophic rupture. The fatigue crack propagation area has developed during the cyclic growth of the fatigue cracks starting at the surface of the specimen. What does the plotted to the right on the x-axis? To fit small and large numbers into the diagram, the x-axis is not scaled linearly but logarithmically. The first specimen was loaded with 7 kilonewtons. This corresponds to a stress amplitude of 248 newtons per square millimeter. Under this stress amplitude, it broke after 381,000 load cycles. The second specimen was loaded with 7.5 kilonewtons. This corresponds to a stress amplitude of 265 newtons per square millimeter. Under this stress amplitude, it broke after